school level yet, but I'm wondering, do they send you a diploma when your child graduates as well as the full official transcript?
Yes.
So you have that diploma, so it's actually a high school graduate diploma?
It is from an accredited school, yes. I just, a week ago, received a diploma from my daughter, Alicia. She just graduated from high school. And it's a nice diploma with the seal of everything and a transcript that they, you know, you can send on to the colleges.
Can I just interject something about the diploma?
Sure.
The diploma is going to be on display at the graduation party, and then you'll put it away.
Right, exactly.
Everybody
Right.
needs it.
Exactly.
We did our own, and you can do them. You can do them. You can print shop or whatever. And we ordered them from mulligans.com. We have them, but I kind of wasted. It was just for the party. You know, my relatives were impressed. The transcript was
Oh, sure. The transcripts is
But
what
again,
the
you can
college
do
is
your
going
own
to look like. Your
transcript.
transcript and your ACT or SAT.
So the transcript and the ACT, SAT, so they don't really look at the diploma?
No.
That's right.
Okay.
Well, in the interest of time, and we've got like other speakers, I'd like to get going.
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Thanks.
My name is Susan, and I have 3 children. I graduated 2 of them, and my youngest is 15, and so he's going into high school next year. And the reason why, well, all the reasons why Elena said why she decided to homeschool through high school are the same for me, especially the Catholic faith. The more I see and the more I hear, and every time I turn on the news, something crazy is happening. So it's almost like I didn't have a choice, although in my mind I kept thinking, I need to think this through. Should I do this? You know? But it always comes down to, I have to, you know. And I think that for me, the Holy Spirit has always been there. If I have a problem or don't know the answer to something, it just comes. I can't tell you where it comes from. A friend of mine told me that her son, who is now an electrical engineer, and he came to her one day and he said, "Mom, how do you do this problem?" It was algebra something, 2 or something. And she said, "Oh my goodness," she said, "Dear Lord, please help me." And by the time she said that little prayer, he had been explaining to her what was going on in the problem and said, "Oh, never mind, I got it." So it just works out. So my journey, again, as Lena says, is beginning with my next one. But the reason why I went with Seton is initially when I homeschooled, I had no intention of homeschooling. I did not know about homeschooling. All of a sudden, I found out as I was going to enter my little girl in kindergarten, is that they used the Benzinger program, and they used it kindergarten through 8th grade, and it's a Catholic school. And I did not want the Benzinger program, and so I was in a panic, and a friend said, "Oh, just, you know, try Seton, see if you like that." So that's how I was initially introduced to Seton. And we used it for a couple of years, and then I went to CHIO, which I'm sure you know what CHIO is. It's that big conference.
Which is about
Christian
from
home
that.
education.
Yeah, conventional big
And they have tons of books and curriculum. So once I started going to those, I just got really excited, and you know, I'd pick out what I wanted, and I did all that. And then when I got to 7th grade, and really 6th grade, I realized I really wasn't as happy as I was with Seton. Seton is very organized. And so I decided, and I heard also that they had a very strong English department, and that's where I felt I was lacking. I'm really good in math and sciences, but I thought, how am I going to teach them to write? After I got over that initial, how am I going to teach them to read?
You can do that. You can do the other thing.
I don't know. But anyways, so in 7th grade, I had her take a couple courses. I had her take English and history, I think it was. So we did really well. It was hard at first to figure out their format. They have a very specific format that you have to follow. And then I just enrolled everyone the next year, and I stayed with it. Once you learn what they're looking for, it's really easy. My son now, he can write a paper in no time. I mean, he knows where to put the thesis, he knows what the introductory paragraph is, In the lower grades, they would give you the first sentence of each of the paragraphs. So he's just got all that down, and he just wrote a research paper under duress. I had to say, you're not allowed to do this if you don't get this done. But he did it in a couple days. He just got it all done. And we're working on the drafts. We're almost out of school. But anyways, for me and my personality, I know everybody is different. You have to make your own decision, but I'm very organized, and I just need to know that everything is done. And I also didn't feel as qualified. I didn't want to go through the research of did I do this right, or I didn't want to make mistakes, and I knew Seton had it all. So that's why I went with Seton. One thing I did is I made a list of all the pros and cons so that you can evaluate and see if this fits your personality or not. And some of the cons with Seton, I'll give you those first. Number one is a 36-week program, and there are programs that are shorter. I think Mother Divine Grace is 32 weeks, and my son always tells me when everybody else is kind of getting done, Seton goes longer. That's just the way it is. And the curriculum's very organized and comprehensive. I don't have to do any research. And really, if you have a day that you're really busy or doing other things, he just works off his lesson plan. And that's the other nice thing. They give you the curriculum for the whole year, and I usually put it in a folder. This is his for 8th grade. And feel free to look through this, but it tells you everything that you need to do, and every day is specific. It just gives all the instructions that you need. And then what I do is I go on the computer and I download the week so that he can work easily from it. That's kind of bulky and big, but this is his for this week. We're on week 35, so we're good. But it just gives him a little line, and when he gets it done, he just checks it off, and it seems to work well for us. By far, to me, the biggest asset with Seton is the counselors. They are very, very knowledgeable. I have access to them, during the day, anytime, and they're very good about calling back. I used them a lot for English. They did a lot of diagramming and just with all the principal parts and words. I mean, some of the things I didn't know, so they're very, very good. Now, the thing is, I shouldn't confess this, but since I told my kids, they're all science and math oriented, my children, and I told them, I said, I will teach you Algebra 1 and Algebra 2 and geometry, so that's good. I said, but as far as the advanced stuff, if you want to learn that, you have to learn it on your own and use the counselors. And they did. They took physics, algebra, they took advanced math and calculus. And sometimes they were on the phone a lot. But my son, who's now in engineering at Akron, he told me that when the professor taught the section in calculus on derivatives, he said, Mom, I didn't even need to hardly pay attention because Tom had done such a good job, teaching and helping him to understand that. Derivatives are kind of tricky, I understand. I don't know about that, but the other thing I like is there's really no time limit to send in the work. You can have a whole year, and if you go over, I think, you can even work that out. And let's see. I already told you writing becomes very easy for the kids because they follow that formula. I really feel that Seton gave a really solid education to my children. They all did very well. The way it works is half of the tests that you take during the year are sent into them to grade, and the other half, they give you the answer key and you grade. It's divided into 4 quarters, and if one of your kids, if they actually do bad on a test, they have the opportunity to retake the test. But what they do is they average the new test with the old test, and then they give you the average of those two. Now, this is just in high school. In elementary, I know you're allowed to retake the test and you get the new grade, but not in high school. The way that I try to avoid any retakes, and I maybe once or twice they had to do a paper over or something. That was usually for English. But I quiz them before they are allowed to take their test. I really don't want them taking a science test if they really don't have comprehension of the material. Okay, and one of the questions that Elena sent around, she said, what did you like about homeschooling through high school? Well, the thing that I liked the most is I came very, very close to my children. I learned their strengths and their weaknesses, and they probably learned mine too. So they know what buttons to push and all that stuff. But the interesting thing for me, because as your children go and you have less children at home and you're less busy, you might add things like a dog or something like that, but you still have more time to contemplate and think about what you did and would you change anything, or how your life is. Or, you're getting, I'm getting older, so I look back and really don't have any regrets at all about homeschooling. I just really feel that they have a solid foundation, and even at some point, because they're still young, if they go away or fade a little bit, I just really think that it's so ingrained in them that they will come back. And there's definitely more time for family time. And my two boys, even though one's 20 and the other's 15, they still get into it. They are so funny, but they're really good friends. And I just think that that's invaluable. Yeah. And the other thing through homeschooling is my daughter, she had an opportunity. One of the homeschooling dads started a computer security networking company, and he took 5 of the kids, and Sarah was one of them, and he let them work from the ground up and develop all these programs and develop the company. And she was doing things like, I remember one time she told me she was in charge of, she made a program that as people would try to come in and hack his business, because it was a security business, she could tell where the hacks were coming from. And some would come from China, and I just remember I thought that was really neat. They got to do all kinds of things like that. And today that's what she does. She graduated with in computer science and networking security, and she works for First Energy. And she loves it. So I don't think she would have had that opportunity had she not been in school. There is one thing I might change about what I did through high school. Since my kids are so technical, I might have tried to look for a course outside, like in the summer, or something that they could do that was a little bit more technical. Now my daughter found something for my son because he wants to be an electrical engineer also. And it's he's going to take it in August through, I can't remember if it's Stark State or Stark Tech, but it's a robotics class, and he's going to build a robot, so he's excited about that. But I wish I probably would have done a little bit more like that. Okay, now, I was asked to talk about one more thing, and this is about how to homeschool during the hard times. I'm going to read this part. In 2001, while I was homeschooling 2 children and had a 3-year-old, I found out that I was pregnant at 46. We were delighted but surprised. At about 5 months, the ultrasound revealed that I had a problem, and so my world was kind of turned upside down. I spent the last 6 weeks of the pregnancy in the hospital, and my daughter Maria was born having trisomy 18. They did not think that she would live a week, but after she did not die, they told us we could go ahead and take her home, and which we did, and she lived for about 2 months. So the question is, how did I homeschool through pregnancy, the birth, her brief life, and through the grief? The simple answer is, I don't know. The Holy Spirit seemed to guide us. The kids did the work during the day, and then they would bring in their books at night, and I would kind of grade while I was in the hospital. It's kind of a blur. But then once I got home, we did our school around Maria. Things seemed to get kind of back to normal, and little Maria seemed to blend right in. She had an NG tube, which we fed her through that, and she was very quiet. She didn't say too much. Most of her life she was held, so she was pretty comfortable. The grief from her death was enormous for me. I can remember looking at the kids who would be smiling and laughing, wanting to move on with their lives. They loved Maria, but they also had hope for life. Mine seemed to be gone.